Welcome to ETS. I'm Donna Lopez, and this is Spirit Whispers. So, in these channel messages, I tap into questions that are brought to me by my audience. And so, I have quite a bit right now on COVID. And so, there's quite a list here. So, I'm going to go through the question and then I will open up and allow Spirit to answer the question. All right. All right, so the first question is, how many more variants of COVID are likely? All right, so they haven't given me a timeline on this, the person that's asked the question. So what I'm going to do is, let's just see how many more variants. All right, there are billions of variants, okay. That to me sounds like common sense in some ways. But the one in particular, I'm hearing something about Humana, some sort of a name like that. So there's one particular aspect. And I feel like this is something that I'm seeing a 5. So I don't know if that's a 5-year or 5-month question around this variant. But I feel like it's building and coming forward a little bit more. But I also feel there's much to be discovered and explored through this variant. Okay, they're saying this variant's aspects are unique. And they're talking about cutting and splicing. Different, I want to say cutting and splicing DNA in order to match or find a match. To piece together all the aspects of this variant. Italy is kind of lighting up around this too for some reason. I know they've had lots of beginnings of things, that's for sure. Yeah, that's all I'm getting on that. All right, the next question is there a likelihood that animals will be affected? Well, my understanding that animals already have been affected. So, but I'm going to ask, yes, animals. Well, I'm hearing yes and no. But I hear that the variant is a likelihood, not only within animals, but within nature. There's an inconsistency, they're saying, inconsistent vibratory predicament. Like herbs would be more connected to this than animals. But I feel like animals have a natural ability to kind of obliterate this within their system. It's almost as if, and I want to say within the species of all animals, it's almost like in a forest, one tree grows and it feeds many other trees. It's almost that way within the animal kingdom. There's so many different aspects of bacteria and viruses within the animal kingdom that they've already neutralized within their system, that it's not long term for them. All right, the next question is, when and how will the global pandemic finish? All right, when will the global pandemic finish? I see it kind of chopped up. In other words, it's like I feel like I see it okay, and then it's like, oh, it'll be okay, and then we'll have this little pregnant pause, then it'll be okay, and so there's these segments of it. But I hear resistant and resistance. So they're talking about resistant and resistance. Um, I hear there's just too many conclusions in terms of resistance to what could nurture, cure, obliterate this issue, and they're talking about the Delta variant too quite a bit, and they said that's going to stretch out a little bit more than would have been likely, but it's almost finished. Uh, it's going to take quite a bit because of the depression and the heaviness around um, changing our lifestyles. Changing our lifestyles. Food will be affected first before people start to make the changes that they need to take. Not meaning that food will be infected, but the scarcity of food will be the predominant beneficiary to clearing and clearing all this up. Not all this up, but clearing it up. Clarity. Receiving clarity. All right. Will the culprits who created it, meaning COVID, be brought to justice? Okay. If it was created, first I'll ask that. No, I get it was not created. It was circumstantial. Here there's circumstantial evidence. I feel like it was a formulation that kind of came back in and diluted and diluted and diluted down until this bacteria was left. Almost like a pollutant. So, like pollution. Okay, if I'm not saying that correctly. All right. Will COVID rival other plagues and pandemics in terms of loss? Okay, will COVID rival other plagues and pandemics in terms of loss? And I assume they're meaning loss of life. Oh boy, they're going. The ability to know the difference between what's right and what's wrong is where the biggest loss will be. The confusion, the created concepts, dilemmas, frustrations. Let me look at that again. Will COVID rival other plagues and pandemics in terms of loss? It's a new beginning, is what I'm hearing. It's a new beginning. And I feel like, unfortunately, it's going to take us a while. It's going to take us about 3 years to really get it together. You know, there's just so much, I want to say negativity, but also it's confusion. It's like the waters are muddied. The understanding is muddied and misunderstood. Okay. Will freedom of movement and open international travel be reinstated in this decade? So that would be, what do we got here? Got to find out where are we at. 2022 to say 2032. We'll go to theirs rather than to 2030. Well, I'll go to 2030 since that's what they're asking. Will freedom of movement and open travel be reinstated in this decade? There'll be 4 structures put in place. I feel like we're going to be walking through, much like how we walk through an X-ray machine, we're going to be walking through something that almost feels like more what something would look like for looking at weapons. If somebody's carrying weapons, it feels more metallurgy. I don't know if I'm even saying that right. but looking for metals, looking for which we have that right now. But this structure looks much more metallic for some reason, and I don't know why I'm seeing it like that. But there will be structures that we will have to walk through. They kind of feel like a cage. It's like you're walking through a cage. Um, it's almost like something that would obliterate any sort of extra exposure to anything. God bless us, but easier hard way, right? Um, will some states and countries be restructured? All right, first I'll ask about, will some countries be restructured? I hear some are already being finalized. Um, I know this person that's asking is from Australia, and Australia is kind of popping up, which is so interesting. But I hear some things are already being finalized. Will some states be restructured? They'll be grouped together. It's almost like I see groups of three. They'll be grouped together. Uh, yeah, wow, so interesting. So glad they asked these questions. So there'll be some states that will be grouped together, and there will be pairing of countries. So kind of like if you're good to go Australia, you're good to go to New Zealand, etc., like that. Um, so yeah, and vice versa. Yeah. Um, yeah. Will history reveal as the benefits of the lockdowns, inability to attend schools and jobs, and will the restrictions ultimately change society in general? Will history reveal the benefits of the lockdowns? I feel as though the narrow views that people have of life, of living, of coincidence, uh, it feels like such a personal assault on one's own ability to decide. That part is not necessarily well, the benefit of it is okay, the addiction to being addicted to certain aspects of understanding, of knowledge, um, will be the benefit of the lockdown, of undoing those addictive qualities, addictive understanding, addictive frustrations. People do get frustrated, when they get in loops of like anger or frustration, they can get very stuck there. Will history reveal the benefits in terms of the inability to attend school and jobs? And will the restrictions ultimately change society in general? Okay, so our inability to go to school and jobs and how these restrictions ultimately affect society in general. I feel like we'll be pulling the plug on a lot of things we've been plugged into. Big corporate is going to be, we're going to be taking our power back as a result. So that feels very good. We're going to be unplugging. Um, I feel that we will be talking more about choices, and the dilemma of choices and not making choices. Uh, I also see that we're going to be understanding more about power grids and the power grid of a certain specific way of being, thinking, functioning. And it's like how it's like, well, I can't unplug from that because then the whole system goes down. Well, we're going to find that we are going to be unplugging from systems, and there'll be reconfigurations and new ways of, we're going to be kind of rolling back to the way things used to be, a little simplified, simpler time. Less is more. um, Less getting ahead and less and more getting ahead, thinking, using your own thinking, um, understanding one's own constitution, knowing your own vibratory, how you function. Know thyself. Boy. Um, moving out of control and controlled aspects. More so, less so than what people would assume in terms of being controlled, but there's an allowance of control, an alignment with controlled aspects that many are involved in that they're willingly aligning with, willingly drinking the Kool-Aid, whether it's the Kool-Aid of not doing the vax or the Kool-Aid of doing the vax. It's like the Kool-Aid's being spread around and it's being diluted. It's losing its juice. So a lot of these issues around doing, not doing the vax are going to be resolved and diluted quite a bit, because there's going to be advanced technologies come out that are going to really clarify things more. It's almost as if there's a machine that will be created that's going to be see color aspects within our energy field or within our biosystem. There's many ways that they do that now anyway. And they will be able to see, like, and I'm hearing these codexes that are installed or in us that make us more susceptible to certain things. Really interesting. What other pertinent information does Spirit wish to share about the role of the virus in the big picture of humanity at this time? Okay, what other pertinent information about the role of the virus in the big picture of humanity at this time? Well, we're in this okay, they're showing this entanglement, and this entanglement is being stretched out. And it's almost as if I were going through a wormhole, and yet there are wormholes wrapped around that wormhole. And it's like being, okay, wow, this is so interesting, because I've always felt this way, because they always say computers will rule the world. Well, our mind can be very much like a computer, and we align with different programs and ideas and ways of being, and it's almost as if what I'm seeing is humanity walking through this tunnel, but it is surrounded through the cable wires, let's say, of a computer. So it's like we're moving through an allowance of what we're plugged into, man is rapidly understanding his frequency. He's rapidly understanding his own shame, blame. It's an oppressive nature that I'm seeing, that we are rapidly moving through, but it is part of the programming. And it is part of this, it's just part of the programming, it's where we get our power. Okay, thank you, Spirit. Thank you. Because, these cables, they plug into the computer and then they plug into the wall to get the electricity, right? So it's what we're plugged into. And so it's an awakening of understanding what you're plugged into and where you're getting your source of information, knowledge, and insight. And knowing that the creator or creation is not mechanical. All right? It is not a mechanical in nature. So there are not mechanics involved in the mechanism that runs and rules and supports how you're fed, how you're informed, and how you're fed and how you're informed in your daily life. And a lot of people are plugged into a false reality. And that in and of itself is a dilemma. And it is, they said it's created like a delirium where people are in this dream state and they're not awake. They're just like Rip Van Winkle. They wake up but they're still not with it, not aware. It's that typical red pill or the blue pill. Which pill will you take? Like the Matrix, which I never really watched those movies. But anyways, Yeah, it's unplugging from a false narrative and from a false sense of what creation is and where your power is coming from. Where our power does come from, being powered more through the solar system, soul connection. There's a lot of clearing, connecting, coming through sunlight, healing, clearing our energies, really attuning more so to our own inner sense. You know, it's like we've gotten so far away from simplicity in terms of like knowing by the shape of a pebble whether there was ever water in that area, or by the way that it has been deteriorated, let's say, or changed and shifted. Knowing how, by the dryness of soil, like how long it's been dry, because you can tell just by your feel. You could actually even taste it and know molecularly if there's water close to that substance. So we will become much more far reaching in our understanding of the cosmos, and how everything has been left here as evidence of life and sustainable life. Yeah, my hands are doing this, so that I feel like our hands are being held and we're being supported and we're being encouraged. But we've really got to get out of the, it's almost like they put a headset on me, and the pictures that we're seeing and the movie we're watching and the screen that we're plugged into. We've got to unplug from that, get out of that, and really uh, listen, learn, and become more fully human. Now, let me see if there's anything else. I'm going to go back through this here real quick. I feel like in the beginning, how many more variants are more likely? Billions. There are many. But humanity will sustain itself. Is there, okay, we got the animals. I hear the global pandemic is finishing. So, will culprits who created it brought to justice? We answered that. When I hear this about culprits, I feel like I'm hearing diseased. So I feel like it's diseased waters, or polluted again. That's really what I'm getting. Will COVID rival other plagues? Well, our own space and what we allow to inhibit and surround us in our space will always be something we will consider. Um, what new laws will remain in place due to the virus? Okay, I might have missed that one. Well, I feel like being conscious of your neighbor, so being considerate of what's going to be right for your neighbor, not just for you. Um, all right, it says, what will history reveal? The benefits of the lockdown. I hear the ability to consider all of nature, all of creation, not just you, all of creation, because we are all creating together. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, loves. Namaste. Thank you for the questions.